Welcome back to the Van Andrew Variety Hour, the only show that records once everybody else has already gone to bed, because I can't keep a consistent schedule. I mentioned it in my previous video about Baldur's Gate, but I dislike Halsin pretty strongly. Again, he would be fine in a game that wasn't Baldur's Gate, but when stacking up against the other companions, he's mediocre at best and an unfun man. So I decided it would be fun to make a tier list of all the characters I would rather have in my party than Halsin. There are no criteria, there are no assumptions, it is just my gut and what I wanted to put them on the tier list. I've got reasons, I'm going to tell you them reasons, but these are all characters I would rather have in my party than Halsin. We're going to start from the bottom and go to the top. So starting with Saza, I feel like Saza would be better than Halsin specifically because she actually has somewhat of a personality, and also having more small humanoids with you would enable me to actually use the burrow holes that we run into, I think. Like some of them, maybe not the burrow holes, maybe the other types of holes. But Saza being a goblin would present some interesting cultural shocks whenever we get to like Baldur's Gate. But it would be a matter of like getting her through the security though. There'd be a lot of weird scenarios you would have to account for with Saza, which makes her unviable. But I think it'd be fun, at least, you know, through Act 2, and then maybe she can like die. I don't know. She's a goblin. You know, you can do anything to those guys. Disciples Rel is introduced as like this big bad lady. I don't know. She's built up to be a much more significant character than she actually ends up being, which is basically just a jobber. You get like a very, very slight taste of her though. She is sadistic and psychopathic in a way that most of the other evil characters in Baldur's Gate are not. She make a great murder hobo run, and she is a half-orc, and there are no half-orc companions. There's very little half-orc representation in Baldur's Gate at all, with a few notable exceptions. But she is, unfortunately, a little one-note. Overall, probably has less to talk about on the daily than even Halsin would, so give and take, I guess, but I would still prefer her. Counselor Floric really should be higher, I think, from a narrative perspective, because she ties in directly with Will. She could, in theory, work to groom Will as the next Duke Ravengard if Duke Ravengard is to die, which he always does in my game. I know you can save him. I do. I just can't. My entire issue with Floric is that I'm a racist, and I don't want any more elves or half-elves in the party. She's probably at least really a B tier. I want something more than the elves. Ornn and Gortash are really interchangeable in this particular one, so we're just going to talk about both. Specifically, when you're playing Dark Urge, you can actually ally with one or the other. You may be able to with Tav, but I never made it that far with Tav. I kept restarting after Act 2, you know how it is. But at least as Dark Urge, you can ally with one against the other, so why not let them join your party and dick around for a little while? Even if it's a temporary thing, but like you get full access to them. The main issue that I would have is that unless you're playing a specifically evil run, you would still end up having to kill them by the end of it. And also, even if that weren't the case, you wouldn't have a whole lot of time with them anyway, because the earliest you would be able to recruit them is like a quarter of the way through Act 3, and that's basically just Minsk, and you barely get enough time with him, so. Haha, yes, human fighter, it's very funny. But Aradin is interesting for me, mostly because he's actually just like a mercenary. He's just in it for the money, and he is what I would call a pretty neutral character, really. Just pay him and he'll do things. But he also has like a mercenary band that he works with called the Beano Boys, which he never calls by name, probably because the name is stupid, but they're still there, unless it's Beano Boys. But also, you even run into him in Baldur's Gate, the city itself, as you wrap up the quest with Lororican and the Night Song. I think there's enough, like, unpacking you could do with his personality alone that it would actually make for a pretty interesting experience. But yes, human fighter, I get it. Dror Ragslin, at the beginning of the game when the Nautiloid is crashing, is like standing in a tower next to Minthara, and they're like observing or like planning or something. And so in my mind, he is as significant as Minthara, or at least in Act 1, that is the case. However, Minthara is a full-fledged companion that you can recruit after Act 1, with fully voiced everything and like a ton of content. Dror disappears no matter what. Where does he go? Where did he come from? Cotton Eye Joe. Eye Joe Cotton, I guess. I wanted Dror to join my party, or at least be able to join my party, because you lose a barbarian if you recruit Minthara, typically. And if you lose a barbarian and then immediately gain another one, that's neat. Plus, there's a few hobgoblins scattered throughout the game as well that would provide for interesting interactions with Dror. Personally, I think it would be fun. It would be cool. It'd be neat. Zevlor strikes me as a character who's already been through a campaign and survived, you know? He's already had his backstory, his personal history that's gotten him to this point. But Zevlor's fun. A character with actually a significant amount of depth, and being able to recruit him wouldn't affect the Tiefling story at all. It would just make you feel worse about it. Because at that point, he wouldn't have been there to protect them from the Shadow Curse, and so he would blame you, you know? That's the main thing, that's the main reason he's not higher, honestly, why he's not in the A tier. It's a good reason not to let him. I just like everything else about him so much, you know? It's gotta make him worth it. The thing that I like the most about having Isabelle as an option is that she is, in theory, recruitable whether you are good or evil. If you're good and do things the way that you're supposed to, she's gonna stay a priestess of Selûne. Selûne? I really don't know. They say it a lot in the game, and now I'm questioning myself. Anyway, Isabelle is probably only a bad choice because you have a cleric already. Having two clerics is just the D&D equivalent of funneling, you know? Does anybody get that? Does anybody play League of Legends anymore? I think they do. I think League is bigger than ever. I think I'm the one that stopped playing League, not people as a whole. I love Barcus. He's so precious. I want to help him. I want to make sure he knows he is valued as an individual, and Wulbren should die in a fiery hole. I don't hate Wulbren that much either, honestly, but I want to convince Marcus that Wulbren is bad news bears for him. I want to tell him he should avoid Wulbren and that he's better without him, or to even fucking beat the fuck out of Wulbren. Just something, man. There's a lot of storytelling potential here with Barcus. And on top of that, he already crafts things. He's basically already an artificer, which means we could add him to our party and just craft us stuff. He would do something and be like, okay, well, if you, in the next 2 short rests, he will have crafted a new schematic, you know, something like that. This is all just theory crafting, and of course, none of this is actually even really being talked about, I don't think. Maybe, probably not. There's a mod for Artificer, I know that. I haven't used it yet. The point is that Barcus is a good option for that. And he already, travels with the party for a little while. It makes sense. It just makes sense. I know we said, I know I said we were in the higher tier, but we got one more. And it's for Popper.
Yes! I has lots of stuffs just for you.
That's it. I love him. He's mine. He's my friend. He's my pal. He's my buddy. He's not going anywhere. I will keep him. I will watch him, and I will conjure up hordes of enemies for him to devour and steal their stuffs. Alright, so yeah, that's the tier list. That's it. That's all I got. I just wanted this one to be kind of a shorter video, because it wasn't that fucking serious. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching. Please subscribe if you just feel like it. You know, you don't have to. I would like for you to, though. That would be very kind of you. But, yeah. Y'all have a great rest of your night.